All right, it's the Sci-Fi Express Lane. I'm gonna say this is my 200th video. Wow, 200 videos, and I enjoy it. My name is Jeff Carroll, science fiction writer, a comic book creator, and filmmaker, and I created this express lane opportunity when I had an hour drive to work, and I was listening to audiobooks, I was listening to morning radio, and I was like, you know what, I have this YouTube channel and I don't do anything with it. Let me see what I can do. And I've gotten a lot of views. I have over 200, close maybe 300 subscribers, which is, an audience. That's bigger than the amount of people that I can fit in my house, So if I got 300 people to come to a party, I'm good to go. So I'm having a sci-fi party of thought, and that's called Sci-Fi Express Lane. If you know me, or if you've been watching my little video blogs, I try to keep them to 15 minutes. And I'm a guy that thinks a lot. I'm a Gemini, I see both sides of the story all the time, and because of that, I find myself being very provocative, sometimes being controversial, without even trying to do it. Most of the time, I think of things that other people may not have thought of. I think of things from different angles. I live down here in Miami area, Florida, and Miramar, right? Shout out Miramar. And I'm from New Jersey. I'm from what I now call Isley Brother, New Jersey, but Teaneck, New Jersey. And I have family in Harlem. I worked at the Apollo for 15 years. So Teaneck is not far from the Apollo, so I will go there. Started in my junior year in high school, and I used to write for a newspaper. Shout out to the Connection newspaper, and that's how I got started. And I've been writing kind of on and off ever since. And I started an agency where I represented a lot of comedians. Bill Bellamy was one of the first comedians I booked, but I never represented him, but I did book him. Kevin Hart, Monique, JB Smooth, all the way to Will Sylvans, Mugga Phoenix, Brooklyn Mike is my man, Kareem Green. So I can go on, right? With names, dropping names, but Michael Blackson, we just saw him last week. So that gave me insight into the entertainment industry, and I started making movies, and I made horror movies. I have 6 horror movies: Holla If I Kill You, Gold Digger Killer, The Death Pledge, Conjuring Baba, The Black Nun, and Stay Out. All of those are all available on Tubi. And after my second movie kind of started making film festival run, I ended up making a comic book, and that was in 2007. And now I have maybe 12 comic books. I had about 2 or 3 of them before COVID, right? It took me a long year to get it back into it. But after COVID, man, I've done about 7 to 8 comic books strong, and I have about 4 of them that are being worked on right now that, my artists are knocking out. After I did my second movie, I started writing books, and that turned me on to science fiction. My first book was the novelization of Gold Digger Killer, which is out of print right now. For some reason, I was trying to do it as a hardcover, and I couldn't design it, and I'm still part-time, so I got frustrated, and I didn't finish uploading it. But Gold Digger Killer is trending on Tubi, and I wanted to get the book out, and I still think it'll do good on at Walmart and stuff, where the movie did well, but I don't have a publisher, and I haven't been able to get it to publishing. So, I actually have some conversations about that. So hopefully something will pick up. But after that, Gold Digger Killer, I wrote Thug Angel, and then Rebirth of a Gargoyle, and then I started converting my screenplays into books, and it happened on Negro Mountain. And after that, I kind of was like, you know what? I don't want to write to my budget like I have to do in film, and I started writing science fiction, and I wrote The Harlem Shake, Welcome to Boss Lady's Planet, Rashida the Zombie Killer, and then I went back and did Survivor's Peak, the second book in the Harlem Shake, and then Escape from Everywhere, which is the last book that I wrote. I even have a collection of my short stories called Sci-Fi Streets, and I'm like 12 books, 13 books in, and science fiction is amazing. I'll say this to you. I'm titling this Why I Love Sci-Fi. I just gave a 6-minute introduction, right, to get you here. And I hope it gave you something, because, I hope I'm not boring you when I talk. But I felt it was a little important to give a little introduction. I'm in the process of working on a documentary. I have about half an hour done. I'm just trying to frame it, and it's going to be called Why I Love Sci-Fi. And I'm a child that, as you see, worked in all of these different places. I did read a science fiction book, which is still my favorite book, and I'm in the process of eclipsing that book with my Holoverse universe, which ties in comics, books, and film. And when I do that, I'll eclipse this book. But I believe it was in 94, 92, one of my youth members, shout out to Edgar Freeman, gave me this book, Zorro, A Tale of Alien Avengers. And that book changed my life, okay? If there was a book that changed my life, that and the autobiography of Malcolm X. That's crazy. That's very crazy. But for some reason, it did. Zorro is a story of Africans in space, black people in space, who in retracing their history found a lost tribe, a colony, a group of people, a lost ship that crash landed on Earth and became the Egyptians or Africans, or whatever you want to call it. And in their retracing this, they come back to Earth and find that white people are also a tribe of people that they beat in battle in space and thought they had beat them, only to come to Earth in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s, to find out that there's apartheid in South Africa, and slavery has already happened. There's racism in America, global oppression of black and brown people, and they come to regulate it. And man, when you talk about what a superhero story could be, what a story that you a story that you always wanted, Zorro is that. Oh my God, it's amazing. And it felt like reparations on every page. And for me, that being the first black science fiction book that I've read, period. I mean, I had just read what do you call it? Terry McMillan. What do you call it? The oh God, can't remember. But it was one of Terry McMillan's books, right? I read that before Stella Gotta Groove Back. It was Wait and Exhale, right? I had just read Wait and Exhale, and I was like, I read. My mother had a book club, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna join it. And then my youth gave me this book, and it changed my life. It didn't whet my thirst for reading science fiction books, because at the time I'm in my 20s, right? I was ripping and running. I hadn't read comic books either. But man, that stuck in my brain as what was possible. It seemed it seemed like calculus, and I had just learned arithmetic, or I had only learned arithmetic. So after I made my movie, Holler If I Kill You. It screened at this comic convention in Florida, which ironically was the first Florida SuperCon and first Spooky Empire. And both Spooky Empire by Rob and damn, I forgot his name, from SuperCon. They both branched off to become the biggest comic conventions in Florida and the biggest horror convention in Florida. And my film screened there. I met Eric Allen Nelson. I met a bunch of other filmmakers. And it was amazing. And it kind of showed me a world that I had never been into. And this was like 2004, around 2004, 2003 or 2004. And it was amazing. And then I started my journey into going to comic book conventions. A few years later, I got Eric to work on the tie-in to Gold Digger Killer, Imani the Killer, and he did 50-something pages, two issues for me. And I printed one out, took it to the comic convention. Then maybe another 4 or 5 years later, I'm back there with Thug Angel, 2010, 2011. And then after that, man, I'm writing and I'm a regular attendee, a vendor. I may have started vending at 2010. I don't even think I vended that early, but because Gold Digger Killer was that amazing, in 2007 I attended my first Comic Con in San Diego, and I was already wet by then. I ran into a friend in Newark, gave me the book Street Lethal by my virtual mentor, right, Stephen Barnes. Then I picked up Minion, and I don't think I picked up the first book. God, I think my first book might have been Awakening in the Vampire Huntress series by L.A. Banks, and I read that, and that kind of solidified it. I was on point. Those 3 books, Zorro, Lethal Weapon, not Lethal Weapon. God, I just said the name of it. Damn it, trying to get old. Street Lethal and the Vampire Huntress series by L.A. Banks. That solidified it. I like Street Lethal because it was futuristic, cyber funk world in LA, post-apocalypse, and he was virtual martial arts. It was a street story, drugs, jail, crime, on the run, you got it. L.A. Banks was a Philly girl. She had written a novelization for us, Scarface, the Al Pacino version. And she already had her street cred. She's a Philly girl, so she's writing what would be like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but this was before Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She wrote a poet who was out here killing vampires and the paranormal. It was just amazing, and it talked the language that I spoke. So with those 2 books, it made it relative real to me. I had the city in the futuristic world, and then I had a paranormal world with with the language that we spoke. And I was like, oh my God, it felt like black people could be in the future. Well, black people could be in sci-fi. And this was in 2006, 2007. I attended the Black Comic Con, ECBOC. Might have been 2008, okay? Might have been 2007, I'm not sure. And that, I met L.A. Banks. She signed a book for me. I hooked her up. She was like, I'm trying to, slim up. So I hooked up with my wife to do some diet stuff. Unfortunately, she passed away a little after that. I think I saved the emails that I got from her, but this was 2006, 2007, man. I didn't have a camera phone, so I wasn't snapping photos like that. Now, I met Dwayne McDuffie a couple of times, but I had people take pictures with me, and I was fanning out at Comic-Con. But Ekbach, LA was like a friend, yo. She talked to me cool, so it didn't feel like I had to snap a picture. So I'm over time, and I don't want to do a part 2, so give me another 2 minutes. I'm gonna wrap this up. All right. So Stephen Barnes and we made real good friends. I talked to him. I can email him, text him now. I still trip out on how fast he gets back to me. But he's read maybe one of my books, maybe Thug Angel. I always give that one to people because I put everything into it. And how I frame myself in liking sci-fi and how I kind of fit in is I have a civil rights history. I went to Egypt, studied under Dr. Ben. My mentors are Dr. Leonard Jeffries and James Small, Dr. Barbara Wheeler, Shashi McIntyre. I used to represent Dr. Francis Cress Wilson in the 90s. I had Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark over my house to eat. No, I think it was just Dr. Ben. Dr. Clark, I had him at my school, Jawanza Kanjufu. Naeem Akbar, brought him to my school. Khalid Muhammad. I met Minister Farrakhan. Had sit-down meetings with Jesse Jackson. None of this am I bragging about. I'm just telling you, this is who I am. And I'm from Teaneck, and we had a kid killed in our city. So I took 4 buses to the Million Man March. And I worked in the NAACP, represented Jeff Johnson and Reverend Jamal Bryant. I worked with Kwesi and Fume. And all that civil rights history, I was the first to bring Reverend Sharpton out of New York to work with us in New Jersey. All that experience in the 90s, all the way up to the 2000s, shaped me. I am a political science fiction person. I respect science fiction and black science fiction for its ability to speak to hypotheses and solutions and ideas that may affect black people and the world on a large scale. And I just have a lot of aspirations. I see what the Hinlans were doing. I see what Asimov, I see what Gene Roddenberry, George Lucas, all these guys, Jules Verne, I see them from their perspective in their context and apply that to now. So when I look at science fiction and black science fiction, I wanted to do all of those things. Yes, I want it to be fun, entertaining, and light and bubbly for kids. I get you, but I also want it to be applicable to black people and our struggle and our revolution. I wanted to put ideas in people's heads to make them think like, oh shoot, I could do that. That could be me. You understand what I'm saying? I can be in the future. So when I have my book, The Harlem Shake, I have a group called the Harlem Survivors in there. That's where I was going, before the quarantine. And the Harlem Survivors were like black Hebrew Israelites, sort of outcast, doing all this preparation, building bunkers, camping out overnight, eating off the land, off the grid, and teaching that. And then a this was all I'm studying to be a survivor, right? Picking up all these gun magazines before the quarantine, before the COVID apocalypse. And, that's crazy. I prepared. I was about to buy a gas mask, and my wife laughs. There was an Army Navy store going out of business, and I was about to buy a gas mask for $30 in January 2020, I think, and an apocalypse happened right after that. So anyway, that's who I am. That's kind of why I like sci-fi. There's another reason why I like it, and I've talked about it before, about the escapism of it. I just saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and I had dreams of being on another planet for 2 days. That's what I want. I want to be able to escape what we have going on here. I don't want to think about the Klan. I don't want to think about Barack Obama. I don't want to think about police. I don't want to think about anything terrestrial. And science fiction allows me to do that, whether it's any of the elements. The zombie apocalypse, it's alternative history, it's sword and soul, it's cyberpunk, Afrofuturism, you name it, post-apocalypse, all of that is escapism to me. And that's it. So thank you. Tell me what you think of sci-fi. This was an incredibly long one, but yeah, it was my 200th one. I had a lot to say. I appreciate it. Give me feedback on what you think I should talk about. Give me feedback on the things that I have talked about, or give me feedback on what I just talked about. You know, if you love sci-fi, tell me what you like about it. All right? Like, subscribe, share, and of course, always comment. Peace.